Hey, what's up, guys? Episode 4, Kobayashi Island. This episode, I'm going to be finishing up the old town, sort of more of around the left side and the back side of the old town, filling it up with a couple blocks of residential, and then spend some time figuring out kind of how the rail lines are going to go, and then at the end make the train station that goes back there. That has a couple lines that meet up, and then kind of more of the road network for the larger area around it. So a little non-time lapse commentary towards the end where I kind of explain what I'm thinking for the next 4, 5, 6 episodes. Right now, kind of doing more of this low-density residential that I was doing in the last episode. I might, in future episodes, kind of start, and show the beginnings of placing it down and then just cut to much further along, because I'm not sure if it's the most interesting thing to watch these residential neighborhoods over and over again. But maybe that's just me. I like these kind of denser areas more. I'm kind of excited to get into that. These rocks that I'm using, one of my favorites, they're I think they're called breakwater rocks. And there's a wet version and a dry version, and they look really good when you do when you put the wet ones in the water, like right on the edge of the water, and then right above it, the dry ones. Kind of gives it that, because they're textured differently, one's darker, one's lighter, it really makes it look like it's the same rocks, but some of them have been underwater and whatnot. So I like using these dry versions a lot because it's not a single rock like a lot of the vanilla ones are, and it's also not massive like the main rocks that I use kind of on the coastlines are. So they're good for residential areas and areas where you just see little patches of rocks poking out of the land. So kind of moving up the hill here around the back side of the castle. One of the things that sadly happened with this episode, I forgot to record for a little while, and there's going to be a jump where this highway intersection appears out of nowhere, and you kind of won't get to see the thought process behind it or how it was made, but I do end up making another intersection. It's not quite as sprawling as the first one, but you'll see one of the two intersections get made and one of them just appears. In episode 1, the mods and assets episode, which you see when I make the Kobayashi Island collection of mods and assets, I added some Japanese style highways that I really like because they're much skinnier than your normal highway. So you can kind of do a lot more with them in a much smaller space. It's one of my favorite ways to make highways because you really can squeeze them into tighter spaces, but a lot of times it doesn't really look right unless you're doing a place like East Asian or Southeast Asian city, because at least in Europe and in America and a lot of other places, their highways aren't quite so compact and jammed between buildings and things, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to make this series in the first place, is because the last time I tried making a Asian style city, I kind of went crazy with the mods. I remember that was when it was at its worst, and that was before I unsubscribed from everything. I think I had 12,000 mods or something, and I got through making the highways and the rails and placing down a few buildings in a few areas, and after that it was unplayable. I had too many mods subscribed. I couldn't, it was slowing my computer down, so I went on a rampage and unsubscribed from everything and started making collections, and now when I play, I usually only have somewhere between like 1,500 and 2,500 mods, and it makes the game run really nice and smooth. It was just a lot of getting rid of things that I never used, that was a big part of it. I just had more things than I knew what to do with, subscribe to, and what I did was the loading screen mod has a feature where when you load a game, it prints a report that you can find the file. So I went through and tried to remember every single asset that I like using, and I just plopped it onto an empty map, and I used the loading screen mod and pulled up the list, and what's great about that list is it has links to the pages on the workshop. So I took the list, clicked every single link to the workshop, and subscribed to only what I needed and put it into collections as I did it. So what I ended up with was maybe 2,000 or so mods that I have in different collections and subscribe to just as I need them for particular save games, and unsubscribe and resubscribe to whole collections, depending if I'm loading one up or another one up, so that I never really have to have all the mods that I like subscribed at any given time. It's usually only half or so, which really allows you to play the game without any lag. So what I'm doing now, you saw me a little bit earlier place down the train stations and place down these huge concrete blocks, and I'm kind of making like an underground parking area that should be functional. All those spaces are functional. I mean, it looks really ugly underneath, but it'll all get covered up. The parking lot roads connect to that road that goes through the tunnel section and connects up with the main road. I'm also imagining what's going to happen when I end up having the simulation run is the train stations, I think, are going to empty people out onto those lower roads, which isn't really ideal. It would be nice if they empty people out onto the plaza, but that might be something I have to come back to and look at, because I won't really know until these stations are really busy, and that's not going to be for a while. Using more of these tunnel assets, which are really some of the best. I mean, you can tell I've been using them everywhere. The tunnel is part of them, and I just use the other tunnel to make kind of like a dome over the station tracks. I do this a lot where I, kind of make raised up spaces and use invisible paths to get the Sims walking around up higher up. I've done it a few times now, made kind of like malls this way, where there's kind of parking on the first couple levels, and then above it there's stores that the Sims get to by walking up and around on the raised up areas. But I think that's the first time I've done it for like a train station. So you just saw me make a cemetery. I kind of just did that on the fly because I was having an issue with some dead people. So I just wanted to fix that real quick, make a little functioning cemetery. Now what I'm doing, I'm placing down these highways that I talked about and getting this bridge that sort of crosses what it used to be like a little tiny inlet, but I thought it would kind of be nicer if there was more of like at the exit of a river, have it start up at a lake. I do want the city kind of split a little bit more with water, have a lot of bridges that go over it, that kind of thing. So now I'm kind of making the surrounding roads. I'm thinking that this area is kind of going to be a little bit hard to get in and out of, specifically on the point over there. I might make some sort of park or something so that it's not super high density, because it is going to be much more high density overall in this area than the old town. It's going to be multi-story buildings, 6-7 stories, kind of like that little strip of buildings I made a second ago. So I need to be careful about not having the population too crazy over here, and not having a bunch of businesses that need trucks coming in and out of here. Maybe it should be more residential than it is commercial for that reason, because these highways, I'm sticking to 2 lanes everywhere, so they're not going to be, and there's not really a good, you see me making this off ramp here, but it's not really that close to the peninsula over there. I don't want too many people coming on and off of it if I can help it, because I think it's just really going to congest things. See me kind of messing around with this intersection. That's kind of what I was talking about before. One of my friends just got back from a trip to Tokyo and was telling me about how all the highways there have tolls to get on and off. So I thought I would do that here. That same freeway pack comes with a toll booth prop that I've been sticking on. I was looking into using the ones that come with the game, which would have been really awesome to get it so that you could be making money off of people taking the highways. But I ended up deciding against it because those vanilla toll booth assets are huge. It's kind of not ever gonna fit where I wanted to in this map, so decided against it. So at this point, I was thinking it would probably be a good time to do a little not time-lapse stuff and just kind of talk about what I'm thinking in general and kind of get a good overview of what's happened so far. Old Town looks pretty good. I think I'm going to extend these residential areas kind of over here along the water before the bridge on the right, and then also probably on the left over here, the other side of the marina. I'm thinking that this train station here is going to have like a little overpass to get to the houses on this side over here by the water. But other than that, the only roads that could get you there are kind of on the left, far left, or under the bridge, or next to the on-ramp to the bridge. This area, kind of between the two train stations, I'm not exactly sure. It might be sort of a mix of low-density residential, sort of same deal as Old Town, but with some larger urban buildings as we get closer to the bridge. And then this sort of bayside area, I was thinking, is kind of like apartment buildings, and it's starting to get into more downtown on the other side of the river over here. So these apartment buildings maybe aren't really, you're not in the central part of the city, but you have a really good view of it right across the water. So that's why it would be valuable there. But that's it for this episode. Next episode, we'll move into placing some of these buildings and getting these neighborhoods looking right.